Hello everyone, this is Jazz here. Today I'm doing something that I've seen other people do, but I have not yet done myself, and it is a book unhaul video. So I am planning on donating some books at the end of the month, and I thought I would kind of tell you guys what I'm planning to get rid of. This is going to be a little different though, which is why I called it a book replacement video as well, because while some of the books that I am unhauling are books that I don't have interest in reading or actually have like no interest in reading ever again, I am also getting rid of some books where I've bought some better, nicer copies of them, because sometimes if I really love a book and I want to reread it, I will buy a special edition of it or a just like more sturdy copy of it. As I said, I am planning on donating all these books. Unfortunately, I cannot afford to ship these to anyone, and also I don't think anybody would want some of these copies. That's just my disclaimer before we start, and let's jump in to my first book unhaul video, y'all. First book I have here is Possession by Elena Johnson, and this one I'm giving away just because I have no desire to read it. I bought it forever ago when my half-price bookstore was closing, and so I think it was one of those it's on sale, I'll buy it sort of situations, and I kept it on my shelf forever and never read it. But this year I did pick up the book and like start looking it up on Goodreads, looking up summaries and actually like reading the first little front bit of it, and I was like, this does not sound remotely interesting to me, and I do not even know why I even bought this book in the first place. So I think it's supposed to be some kind of sci-fi dystopian kind of thing, but it looks like it's not going to be structured that great, and I don't think the reviews were very favorable, so I'm just gonna get rid of this one. Next up is one of those replacement books that I was talking about, and it is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I do remember enjoying this book, and I don't remember much of it, so I do need to reread it, and because I knew I wanted to reread it, I went and got this 50th anniversary edition of the book, which is in hardcover and has like a lot of additional info in it, which is super cool. The next book that I'm unhauling is Tamar by Mel Peet. Now, this book did actually kind of sound interesting. It sounded like it was about like going to have like a lot of cross timelines, and it had to do with like 1944 and kind of like a spy storyline, maybe something like that. But every time I tried to start it, I was just not captured by it, and it seemed like it was going to be really hard to get into, and also the print in it was really small, and my eyes just can't deal with that, neither can my learning differences. So that was another thing that kind of got my way with this. My mom also started it one time, and she said the structure of it was kind of off and weird, and so she DNF'd it. So I'm thinking that I don't need to own this book in my collection, and if I did end up reading it, I would just like check it out at the library. The book that I'm replacing here is The Black Swan. Now, the main reason why I am replacing this book with this used copy of The Black Swan is because I lost the dust jacket to this. I had this thing where I would just like throw away dust jackets because they annoyed me, and I so regret that, because the dust jackets now are so important when you're on BookTube and you need to like film a video and show the book cover. And so I needed a copy that did have the cover, and also I really wanted a copy that did have the cover because it is a lovely cover. So I have a couple of Stephen King books that I have replaced. The first one is Night Shift. This book was used when I got it, and it was well loved, and then I used it and well loved it. So I was really excited when I found a hardcover copy of it at a library book sale. So I'm just going to replace this really used paperback with this nicer, slightly used hardcover. The other King book that I'm replacing is my copy of The Shining. I only read this once, but the spine is pretty cracked, and I do want to reread it at some point. And this is the only one that I did replace with a paperback instead of a hardcover, but it is a really solid, nice paperback that I got at a library book sale. Now, I really like this replacement in particular because the font in the writing is a lot bigger and it will be a lot easier for me to reread. Onto a book that I have read but have no interest in reading again. I kind of made this rule for myself that if a book was like 3 stars or lower, I was going to really evaluate if I was going to keep it. And one of the books that I thought I needs to get rid of is The Mermaid Chair by Sue Monk Kidd. There were some things that I did enjoy about this book, but there were also some things that drove me flipping insane. So I'm definitely not going to ever read this book again because it like stressed me out with its like annoying main character. So even though the book cover is really, really pretty, I'm going to donate it to somebody that might enjoy it more than me. However, there is a Sue Monk Kidd book that I really love that I'm going to do a replacement situation on, and that is The Secret Life of Bees. I found at a library book sale a really nice, barely used, it looks like a new hardcover copy of it. So I'm really excited about that because this is definitely one that I'm going to reread because I really enjoyed reading it the first time. Now this next one I feel a little shame about replacing it because I actually didn't like this book and I ended up buying it twice for a purely aesthetic reason. That book would be Scarlet, which is Alexandra Ripley's official sequel to Gone with the Wind. So I found a hardcover of this book at a library book sale and I ended up buying it, even though this book is like at its best maybe a 3-star book, maybe even 2.5. Like I think the actual mini-series adaptation is probably a little bit better than the actual book, and it is definitely nowhere as fabulous as Gone with the Wind. So I have this really wonderful anniversary edition DVD set of the Gone with the Wind movie in this like fabulous velvet box. And so what I did was I stacked it and stored it on top of books that had to do with Gone with the Wind. I stacked it on top of like the book Gone with the Wind, but I stacked it with, you know, Scarlet and Rhett Butler's People. Literally just keep Scarlet and Rhett Butler's People for that stack because I DNF'd Rhett Butler's People and I might give this book another try again and see if I like it, but I theorize that I probably won't because it is just so subpar in comparison to Gone with the Wind, but it looks great on my stack of books with my DVD set, and I needed them all in hardcover, so I feel shame about keeping a book that I don't really like, but I also don't feel shame because I want that section to look pretty. Next book I'm unhauling is Blood and Gold by Anne Rice. This is, I think, like the 8th book in the Vampire Chronicles series, and somebody actually gave this to me, so I didn't actually spend any money on it, so I don't have to feel bad, I guess, about giving it away. But I read the first 3 books in the Vampire Chronicles series. I love Interview with the Vampire, but the other books I didn't love as much, and the third one I felt was like a good finish, and I actually really struggled with reading the third one, and I think after that book she like stopped using editors, so I can only imagine that it gets, you know, even harder to read. And so since this is like so late in the Vampire Chronicles series and I have no, you know, desire to complete the Vampire Chronicles series, I think if I ever reread them, I would only read up to the 3rd book. You know, this needs to just go. Now I have a couple of replacement books, and both of these are ones by Tad Williams. So if you've read a Tad Williams book or have seen me show a Tad Williams book on my channel, you know that he writes these flipping huge books, and one of my pet peeves is like these mass market paperbacks when they're really super huge. Like if they're over 300 pages, like you're gonna read them once, maybe twice, and they are going to start to fall apart, and that makes me flipping crazy. And the only reason I like own these is because like I bought these before I knew that was like a pet peeve of mine. So the first one was the first book in the Otherland series, which is City of Golden Shadow. So I ended up getting this used, and this is actually way better because the print is extremely larger in comparison with this, because I think this book would be even thicker and even more likely to fall apart if it was in a larger print. So this is just a lot easier for me to read eyeball wise, but also I ended up really loving this book, and I definitely wanted like the whole series in my collection in hardcover, so bomb. I also recently ended up replacing War of the Flowers with this really nice hardcover, mostly because this is one of my favorite fantasy standalone novels. commercials, and I kept showing it in videos, and this thing just looks terrible. I'm actually kind of debating not giving it away because it's in such bad condition. I'm like, I don't even know if I want to give it to someone in this condition. I might just like keep it for like Bookstagrams or something like that. But yeah, I am replacing it with this fabulous copy in hardcover. Now I can show you this fabulous one in videos when I talk about it all the time, instead of showing you this one that looks like trash. Another book that I love that I have decided to replace is my copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. So I actually bought this like when I was in middle school, and we read it for assigned reading, and I really enjoy this book. I love it so much. So when I saw this fabulous Barnes & Noble's edition of it, I had to go and get it, and this is a really, really nice copy. The print in it is so much bigger than this one, which as you can see is like a priority for me, but also it's just got this like lovely kind of shadow cover and like this cool back to it, and it looks fabulous with all my like nice editions of classic books. This one I'm unhauling, and I kind of already talked about why in my last wrap up because I DNF'd it, and it is A Long, Long Sleep by Anna Sheehan, which is like a sci-fi retelling of Sleeping Beauty. But I just didn't feel like in the 50 pages of it that I read that it was going to be something that I was going to like. I could tell it was going to be maybe a 2.5 or 3-star kind of book, and it's part of a series that I'm not interested in reading because I only want to read series that I really, really want to read. So this one is going to the giveaway pile. Another book that I'm doing a replacement on is Memoirs of a Geisha. So I found this really cool copy of the original book cover in hardcover, which I did actually end up reading the book in this edition when I ended up reading it for the first time. I have this weird thing where I don't like movie book covers. Like, it's another pet peeve of mine. Like, even if I like the movie, I want the original book cover. I don't know if that's weird. That is another reason why I wanted to replace this book, but mostly I replaced it because I knew that my mom, who also shares my book collection with me, was interested in rereading it, and I was interested in reading it for the first time, and we can be hard on a paperback. I am replacing my paperback copy of Peter and the Starcatchers with a hardcover copy. I just really wanted this whole series in hardcover. I'm highly interested in reading the whole series. I've read up to the second book, really loved it. When you take the dust jacket off, they are so lovely without their dust jackets, these Peter and the Starcatchers books, and I just wanted that in my life. Like, that just brought me joy. So I'm so happy that I have the whole series in hardcover now, and yeah. This next book I will probably discuss a little bit more in my wrap-up since I reread it this month, but I found out in my reread basically that I didn't want to reread it ever again, and it is Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. I was conflicted about what I thought about this book the first time that I read it, and in my reread I was still conflicted about it, and I actually found more things to feel conflicted about, and it just doesn't make me like feel great when I read it, so it doesn't need to be in my collection anymore. The last book that I'm going to talk about in this video that I'm unhauling / replacing is a replacement one, and I'm replacing this paperback edition of The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton with the 50th anniversary edition that I ended up getting. So I love this book so much, and actually this is a fairly nice edition if you do want to get this in paperback, but because I wanted the 50th anniversary edition and ended up getting it, I just don't have like a reason to keep both books. And you know, because this is in hardcover, it is a little bit sturdier, and it does, you know, aesthetically on my shelf look nicer. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one and give this one away. I just noticed though that this book cover is like turning green at the bottom. Like, what is that? That is so weird. So I guess it's kind of good that I'm replacing it with something else. So that was my very first book unhaul video. I hope you guys found it interesting. I know I did a different kind of approach than people usually do with these types of videos, but I wanted to kind of show you guys something different that I personally do when I unhaul books. So let me know what you thought of it. Also, let me know what you thought of some of the books that I have no interest in reading. If you also have no interest in reading those, or if you did end up liking them, I would kind of like to know that as well. As an additional note, I would really appreciate if you guys that like this channel would go ahead and look in the description and follow me on Twitter or Instagram, because I've noticed that the notifications on YouTube are a little wonky lately, and I think people are not getting notified that my videos are going up. So if you want to for sure be notified by me personally, go ahead and follow me on Twitter or Instagram, because I will usually post something that says that a new video is up, and then you know, and then you can check those videos out. And if you would additionally like to subscribe and like this video, I would be super happy and thankful for that as well. And that is it for today, my fabulous peeps. I will see you later. Bye!